The story happened when I was 16 years old. Like most girls, I became very bad-tempered when I entered puberty, especially for my parents. My mother and I would often argue over trivial things, and I was confused and fed up with my family and scared of the future. The story happened in the summer of that year. It was very hot that summer and it didn't rain the whole month. On the last day of July, a light rain began to fall in the sky, and my family and I couldn't resist stepping outside. The cool raindrops were refreshing. While we were playing in the rain, a bolt of lightning struck me and a nearby tree and I fell to the ground. I thought I was dead, but in my recollection, I didn't feel anything when the lightning struck me. I came to another place where I saw my past, and I saw me pushing my sister off the tricycle as a child. The movie clips kept playing. It was all about the times I hurt people. I wasn't being judged, but I could realize how I had hurt others. Next, I met the man I thought was Jesus. I didn't see him in person, but I knew he was there. In his presence, I felt indescribable love and warmth. Vision is not needed here. Understanding and love are what matters. While in his presence, I learned all there is to know about the universe. All questions were answered and they all made sense. We communicated freely, not with words, but more clearly and concisely than any way of talking. I had no doubts about the world. He told me very clearly that it was all about love. He also told me that time does not exist. Time is just a reminder of what to do and when, which I know sounds crazy. I could see clearly from above that my body was lying on the floor and I could even zoom in to see it. I wasn't in pain and I heard one of the paramedics tell my father that it had been over 6 minutes and even if I woke up now, I would probably have severe brain damage. I remember thinking, bollocks, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. Other than that, I didn't really care what was happening. It didn't feel like my soul was part of my body. Nor did I care about the activity going on down there. I feel like I'm just a silent observer. But at this point in time, I had to make a choice, to stay or to go back. I felt like I wanted to stay here. But when I looked down and saw my mom, who was crying so hard I could feel her grief, I instantly went back into my body. Obviously, as soon as I felt my mom's pain, I decided to go back. On the way to the hospital, I mentioned the experience to my mom. She said it must have been a dream. I know it wasn't, I'm 60 years old now, but at that time the term near-death experience didn't exist. I didn't mention it again. I felt the experience would not be socially acceptable and then repressed it for many years. This experience later re-entered my consciousness when I was a young nurse and a colleague invited me to attend a nursing conference with her. This conference was about death. At the time, I thought it was boring to attend such a conference, but I agreed to go anyway. When I arrived in the conference hall and chose a seat in the back, this speaker fascinated me. She knew all my thoughts, and I had no secrets in front of her. She knew who I was and how I thought about life. This speaker's name was one I had never heard before. After that, my mind had a feeling of being liberated. After the conference, I no longer had to repress my thoughts, and a few years later, the term near-death experience was everywhere. For many years, I was very confused about God. As time went on, I realized that this confusion was due to feeling cheated. When asked if I wanted to stay or go back, I had felt like I was being driven back here, and I wanted to think about it a little longer. I was also a little angry that I had to go back. In later days, I realized that the choice to come back was my own decision. If someone asked me, "Do you believe in God?" my answer would be yes. When trouble comes, it is hard to rely on myself for comfort. I needed to feel God's unconditional love and then walk with me. My confusion began to subside and I felt His Spirit leading me. One day I found a Bible in my house. I had never really read it and I found it confusing. But that day, I opened it and flipped to a random page. The page talked about the wisdom of God, and as I read it, the words seemed to be absorbed into me, as if I knew them and somehow understood them. I read for hours and felt spiritually fulfilled. Now I feel close to God as I read the Bible daily and interact with other believers. I don't want to waste any more of my precious time. The truth is always evident if we allow ourselves to be led by His Spirit. I now feel that I am growing and living in a healthy way every day. The truth is that He is always there for us. If we don't feel it, it's because we walk away, not Him.